Welcome to It's Not Just Business Talks with Sonja, where we get down to the real business of how great leaders dug through their own trenches and climbed some epic mountains to get where they are today. Now let's get started with the show.
I'm here today with Dr. Matthew Smitley, originally from Grand Forks, North Dakota. Dr. Smitley has traveled and lived in many areas of the United States. Growing up as an Air Force brat, Matt spent the majority of his life in the beautiful Santa Barbara County, California, which can't be bad. It was there that his interest and passion for sports medicine and athletic training started. After obtaining his master's degree in 2014, Dr. Smitley moved cross-country, to work with a top 15 health system as a full-time outreach athletic trainer to a mid-sized high school. While there, he organized, coordinated, and provided healthcare for over 300 student athletes across 28 teams and 16 different sports. And I'm exhausted from just thinking about all that that you've been doing. So outside of athletic training, Dr. Smitley is an avid University of Tennessee football fan and singer. This gets more interesting. In his spare time, he enjoys traveling, exploring his new home in the Pacific Northwest, and spending quality time with friends and loved ones. And of course, you are now at the University of Idaho athletic training program. And like I said, I was exhausted just thinking about all of that. But obviously, you and I met through University of Idaho.
Yes.
And through your incredibly cool athletic training program, which is unique. And one of the tee-ups I'd like to do is just tell me about what is that program and why is it unique? Because it truly is different.
Yeah, there's a lot of uniquities about our program. But before I start, thank you for having me with you. I genuinely appreciate we get to share our story, but also connect with everyone. And, the University of Idaho athletic training program has been an educational program through the university and in our professional spheres for quite some time.
Yeah.
In its current format started, I want to say, around 2013.
Got it.
And as a profession, athletic training is pretty unique in the fact that it's at the intersection of a lot of different healthcare fields.
Mm-hmm.
We have the emergency and immediate medical care, which is similar to what you'd see with the EMT. We have a lot of in-depth evaluation and diagnosis like you'd see in a physician's practice. And then we also do a lot of therapeutic interventions like you'd see in physical therapy.
Right.
So athletic training is right at the center of all three of those. And it's probably even some more professions mixed in there, which creates a unique educational program. There's a lot of different things that we have to teach and instruct in and assess students with.
Mm-hmm.
It also attracts a lot of unique individuals that want to provide care to athletic teams. And then as our profession is also growing, it's expanding into things like industrial medicine and performing arts and tactical healthcare in a lot of different fields and professions that we're providing healthcare services to. So as a program, from the start, we have a unique aspect and niche in the world, in the healthcare world. And then when we add in things that we're passionate about as a faculty and staff, how we were organized and created, there's a lot of forward thinkers that initiated our program, and we're at a point now where we're building upon the foundation that they had set for us in expanding our program, one, into filling gaps in the profession and things that we think are super important, but also providing qualified and competent healthcare into all of those settings where there's a lot of historically underserved populations.
Right. Yeah. And there's a unique structure to your funding and how you operate as well, right? So I'd love to hear, there's so many parts because I already know some of these, but tell anyone that's listening what that looks like.
Yeah, we have a pretty unique structure in that we are approved by the State Board of Education for the University of Idaho and by the state of Idaho. And we are an official program underneath their umbrella. But the funding structure for our program is almost the completely inverse from what you would anticipate. So students, when they pay their tuition to the university, a large portion of that goes to their student experience and overhead, things like that. Mm-hmm. Small portion of their tuition goes back to the program. Well, we are a self-support program in that students pay tuition to the school, but the little top percentage of it For my churchgoers, maybe that would be a tithe.
Got it. Yeah, I know. I want to hear about the churchgoers too here in a
minute. There's a top percentage that goes to the university, but then the rest of it goes directly back to our program. And so we are fully self-support in that financially. Our success is not only standing on how our students perform academically or on national certifications, exams, and things like that. But the success of our program is also built on how we can bring in students that believe and align with our mission, align with our vision. And we grow the program not to build a pot of money or anything like that, but that we can to expand and deepen our program and what we can offer our students and improve their experience.
And I feel like, and you may have already kind of covered this in what you just said, because I sometimes I get a little bit overwhelmed with how brilliant you are. And I'm more of as you know, from being in marketing, we've run into this before. I'm a circular thinker and you're very direct. So, but the DAT and the MSAT, or am I getting that right? So your programs though, weren't you the original gangster as it comes to some of these programs in the States?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the MSAT, the Master of Science and Athletic Training Program Director. And then under our umbrella, also in the self-support umbrella in these programs, is the Doctor of Athletic Training Program.
Yeah.
And when I talk about the forward thinkers that we built a foundation for us, we had Dr. Alan Nasipany.
Yep.
And then also Dr. Jeff Siegmiller, who had recognized that there was a gap in the profession, that we were preparing individuals to go into clinical practice, but there wasn't a lot of follow-up education. We have continuing education standards that we have to meet as a profession, but there wasn't a lot of depth or improving depth in advanced patient care. And so seeing this, they said, well, why not create a terminal degree for the profession? And that's where the Doctor of Athletic Training was born out of.
Right. Wow.
It started with a lot of 30-second elevator pitches to big people in the profession. And then it carried on to an opportunity. It really was just perfect crossing of roads and paths and everything else. Right place, right time. And the opportunity was presented to our university. A president came in and he said he was looking for entrepreneur. I can't even say the word.
Entrepreneurial. That's my word.
Entrepreneurial mindsets and ideas. Yep. One of those was the self-support program.
Yep.
And creating a terminal degree for our profession. And again, all the stars aligned, plans aligned. And that's where the program started. Was from that, brainchild, recognizing a need.
Yep.
And then also creating an opportunity to fill that need as well.
Well, I mean, and I'm thrilled. I already, of course, know a lot about your organization, but that it's important that we can kind of give the backstory on there. And one of the things that I wanted to just pivot to was you yourself, Matt, because you're a really interesting fellow. And I mean, I actually just kind of going through your bio, I was like, wait, singer? How come I haven't heard this one before? What's that about? What's your voice? Where do you sing? Are you a rock band or a church or what?
I wish. Yeah. So I grew up singing in church.
Sure.
And it's kind of interesting. I didn't realize this till later in life. I come from music on both sides of my family. So my grandfather, my dad's father, formally trained vocalist, has sung literally all over the world.
Wow.
And then my papa, or my mom's father, my maternal grandfather, he was a very informally trained singer and was a bluegrass vocalist.
Ooh.
A small group of friends that he had. They were the Watauga River Boys.
Wow.
They sing locally, nothing big.
Right.
But came from music on both ends of the family. So anyways, fast forward into life, and I had an opportunity to audition for a singing scholarship at California Baptist University. And they offered a scholarship to join one of their groups, which is the male chorale. And I got to tour the country.
Wow.
Half the country for 3 years. So
okay. So you're actually pretty good if you're getting a scholarship. So that says something.
It's kind of interesting because there's a lot. I mean, it was a great opportunity. I'm not one to fluff my own feathers or anything. I know. Like that. It was a great experience. And I was very fortunate to have had that opportunity to have the scholarship and to be able to see areas of the country I never would have seen before. And I mean, we sang for groups of 20,000 plus, all the way down to a small, tiny church in Western Montana.
Wow. Okay.
Of
That's
maybe
crazy.
20 people. Yeah. And so it was a lot of fun, get to tour with 90 other guys, and we had a brass section and it was a lot of fun.
Oh my goodness. I bet now that I've heard this, I'm going to go find you somewhere on YouTube, and I'm going to tag this. But do you sing now ever? I mean, does it come out in karaoke or just to your loved ones, or do you still use it? Or?
My lovely wife, my better half, gets to hear me sing over the radio. And then I've not done it more recently, but I have, when I'm plugged in with church and all that, I try to help lead. I have led worship for a couple different churches where I've lived nationwide, and that's something I enjoy. It's a great stress reliever. It's a great thing to have fun with, and so
community as well, and so great purpose in that. I love that. Yeah, actually, I was reading something else here that I'm really wanting to ask. So you were in ministry. I mean, your path has been sort of not unlike others. Not a straight arrow, right? You kind of bounce here and you go there and you try this and you try this. And I'm sure some of them were rich, whether or not they became your final path. But would you share a little bit about that journey? I mean, obviously you didn't just wake up one day as the University of Idaho, assistant professor. How did that materialize? What was that like?
Yeah. The whole path has been pretty winding. I mean, really young, growing up a military kid, that was something that interested me. And then I took a video productions class in high school, and I was, this is a lot of fun. I love being behind the camera. I love editing things. That was actually my senior project in high school, was a video project that I had edited over the course of 4 months. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is fun. I get it.
Yeah. And that was my sophomore and junior year. And then my senior year, I happened just to take a sports medicine class. It was, then we call it ROP now. Other groups nationwide call it CTE, so Career and Technical Education.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So it was a sports med class, and I got to shadow a physical therapist and some emergency medical technicians and athletic trainers, and realize, oh, this is actually really fun. And I was really intrigued by traveling the world, or traveling the country and traveling with athletic teams, and then getting free gear. That was what
free gear bonus.
Yeah, that interested me at the time. But then I stuck with that career choice and pursued that all the way through my undergrad, and realized that I really enjoyed being able to help people. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of where, when I was at Cal Baptist, my dad was a minister. And so that was something I've always been able to see him devote his time to helping other people. It's not just sitting behind a pulpit on Sundays. There was everything he did was done outside of the pulpit through the course of the weekend, helping others. Right. And I realized that was something that was pretty important to me: hospitality, being helpful, things like that. And so that's what led me and helped me find an identity within the profession, is that I wanted to provide care to people, but also provide patient care that's better than what's out there. I mean, we've all had the experience of going into the doctor's office. They see you for a couple minutes, they're interrupting you, and you're maybe getting a couple words in, and you leave with a prescription. That's it. And
oh my gosh, right?
That's healthcare right now.
I know.
It's not ideal.
No.
And that's what kind of created a fire in me, is I want to provide good patient care. Yep. And I want to provide a helpful resource to people and connect people to the right resources, and not just give them this cookie cutter approach.
Which is what your program does. I mean, you are putting students in clinical immersions pretty quickly. I mean, as we've talked, as I've learned, many of them come out with their degree and a job. Yep. They hit the ground running, so to speak, and can actually provide incredible patient care really on day one, rather than then they have to take that to the setting and learn on the job after they've got their degree. Not a good fit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's something that's been, our profession has been prone to. And there's a lot of bigger profession-wide challenges that we're navigating collectively. But that's something that we've navigated, is people get into the real world and think, oh, this isn't the setting, or this isn't the type of job that I want. And we're allowing our students to get, the entire time that they're in our program, they're able to navigate, okay, maybe this setting, or maybe this type of school, or this size of school is not right for me. What else is out there? And we've had students that have skipped the normal progression, gone right into industrial medicine, right into performing arts medicine, right into professions that they feel they have a calling to, that they mesh well with, that they feel like there's a purposeful, day-to-day life rather than just going through the motions of the same stuff every single day.
Absolutely. No kidding. And I mean, as a mother of 6 college age children, I can truly appreciate that approach versus, and of course our kids have bounced around in different schools because they get somewhere and it just isn't a fit, right? For that same reason. And I noticed, because you're talking a lot about purpose and how that has led you to want to serve in that way, be meaningful about your service. I also noticed that you have learned quite a bit about the Enneagram, which is one of my favorite topics. Yeah. I know all about it. My husband is very into it too. Tell me a little bit about the Enneagram for you.
Yeah. So for me, I've always been one that loves taking the personality, quizzes and things like that. And I've always felt like when you do, Myers-Briggs is a great one.
Myers-Briggs too. Yep. Love that one too.
It gets me almost there, but it doesn't really fully. There's always something that doesn't seem off or seem right or fully aligning with me.
Yeah.
And then I did an Enneagram quiz. I don't know, I identified my type. I'm a 2 wing 1.
I could have told you that. I could have told you that.
It's funny because I see, that my friends and I that are pretty familiar with it. Oh, you're such a type 2, or like, that is you. And just in my main type, my type 2, it really is interesting to me is like it nailed like 80% of me. I'm like almost
such a helper, servant, kind, caring, all of those things. So true of you.
Yeah. And then when I start learning about how wings work and that, that captured like the other like 15%. And so I've still got this 5%, and that's the other end of that. And then they have these lines of disintegration or integration, like what you're doing, when you're doing really well, how you drift to a different type, and you're doing not so well, you're drifting to another. And it was so accurate.
And it's so ancient, right? It's not that some guy bored in his basement wrote up a new pop quiz. It literally is rooted in I think it's Gnostic or some sort of you'll know better than I do, some great resource.
Absolutely. It's been around a long time. And I think it's one of those that's like kind of trendy, fatty, that it's coming around and like, oh yeah, like there's more people that talk about it, but it's been around for quite some time.
Yeah.
And for me, being the type 2, I always want to help people connect. I always want to, how can I best contribute to their life experience? How can I best speak to them? How can I, and it's all from the mindset of how can I like help them? Because I just want to put them in the right places and connect them well. And so I started kind of toying with it a little bit when I first was in my doctoral education, just on a personal end, realizing like, I have family members that are very similar to me and they are identical to me in their Enneagram types. And then family members that are different than me. And I'm like, oh yeah, that totally explains it. And I've been able to utilize that. And, as a faculty and staff, we met a couple of years ago and we each did the test and went through. I'm like, okay, so this is how so-and-so ticks.
Yeah.
This is what their core motivations are. These are their deep down, like undesirable fears are.
Yeah.
And it allows me to navigate how I can best connect with them.
Right.
And see how can I, support them, or what are tasks that, or I would even say, what are environmental influences that can help protect them from, or what environments can I push them into because they're going to thrive in that type of environment. And I start to see that I haven't, necessarily done this all with my students, but it's helped me be more aware of what are their triggers, what are their desires, what are things that they fear, what are things that they like, how do they grow? And knowing that is how I can best provide individualized feedback for each student.
Which you would, because you're a 2 and you want to make it work for everybody else, right?
Absolutely.
Because someone like me or my, different, and I'm not going to necessarily spoiler alert with my Enneagram number, because I think it's like the dud of the 9. But I know that my husband is a 9, and I know what his MO is, right? When 5 of our daughters are screaming at each other, he is not trying to break them up. He is literally trying to find a quiet corner to hide until the peace is restored.
Yes.
So I know him, and that helps in personal engagements, but it does absolutely with work, clients, and students. Absolutely. And And thanks for sharing that you're a 2. Now I know all about you.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
But,
a little bit, 80% of my archetype.
I know.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, on this long journey, and I just want to think about, I know it wasn't always perfect or positive, although you sound like you've been very held up and lifted and supported throughout your, road. Were there ever times where you just thought, I have no idea what I'm doing, or this isn't working, or I can't pay my rent on this, or, what in the world?
Yeah. I think the biggest moment that comes to mind was when I was working in North Carolina. It was a great environment. I had awesome administrators directly above me. But there was just a lot of contextual challenges that I struggled with. And I realized a lot of that was centered on me almost being in the right field, but not fully being there. Mm-hmm. And so one of my mentors, Dr. Rusty Baker, he had been planting the seed for the DAT and pursuing my doctorate. He said, I think this will be a good path, and there's some opportunities that you'd have here. And I waited on it for 3 years. I sat on it for 3 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And finally, I got to the point where I just had a lot of, abnormal stressors and anxieties that were building up in that setting that I just said, okay, something's got to change here. And I'm normally one that likes to make very calculated decisions, consider all the influences. And I had done that over some amount of time about the DAT program. But then I said, all right, I just need to pull the trigger and not wait on this one. And so I did. I basically handed in my 2-week or whatever it was, my resignation.
Sure, yeah.
And had no guarantee of a job, no guarantee of whatever. I just knew that I was going to pursue this degree. Things kind of settled down and things fell into the right place. And that's what put me in this position. And so that allowed me to kind of navigate, okay, this is what makes me tick as a clinician. I'll further identify that, I actually really enjoy teaching. And I come from a line of teachers as well on my mom's side. So things just kind of fell into place. And that's when I realized, like, oh, this is where
you belong. But so was that like a leap of faith almost, because you kind of just had no career guarantee when you let go and you went into the next space? I mean, it sounds like you had to just kind of
the very short description of it.
Yeah.
Here I am. I mean, I don't even remember how old I was, but in my late 20s. And I said, something's got to change. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know exactly what it was at the time, but I knew that it wasn't on the path that I was headed. And it wasn't anything against the employer or anything. They were awesome. I enjoyed working with those people there, but it was just in that setting. It just wasn't hitting, the things that I wanted to be doing. And maybe it was that I didn't have all the resources that I could have to help people. And so I eventually learned that, being an educator in this realm, I'm able to help more people by extension through my students and the students that are preparing to go out to the real world, rather than me operating as one individual at one clinical site in one athletic setting.
So true. That's actually great wisdom, because if you have a lot to give and you can give it to more than just one individual, not that one individual doesn't matter, that every one of them does, but by extension, helping a number of I often feel that way about my own organization, because when we help one client, let's just say grow or even hire 10 new employees because they are a little short staffed. And then those people, then they're reinvesting in their communities. They're sponsoring, some little high school sports team, or they're whatever. We just by extension, what we do with multiple clients versus me just being, let's say, the marketing director in one firm. I like that too. So a little bit about my thoughts about that, but I really appreciate your time. And I heard you say Dr. Baker. Is Dr. Baker still in that same space? Because I that sounds like a mentor who is fairly influential in your life.
Yeah, he's very influential for me because he's the one that kind of lit the fire under me of like, don't accept the mediocrity.
Yeah.
That was something I didn't quite understand. It didn't quite align with until I was he was a teacher of mine at one point, but once I was out from under his direct tutelage as a student, once I had some time to experience the real world and be like, I know that there are better things out here that I could be doing for my patients. I just don't know what they are yet. And he was the one that planted those seeds of saying we could be doing a whole lot better. So from a healthcare perspective, from a patient care perspective, he's the one that fostered that environment for me. He planted the seeds, fertilized the ground, all that, and just let it sit for a long time.
Go, Dr. Baker. And he did what you're doing. By extension, he implanted a seed in you that then planted seeds in others. And that's just how it really does work.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that, I have to give him, Dr. Baker, credit for, is like as he was teaching me, he was planting seeds for saying there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. There's things that we can be doing better individually as a profession. And that tuned my eyes to looking for those opportunities. And I didn't know exactly what I was looking for, but I knew
you
that
were open.
Absolutely. It was opening and laying the groundwork for it. So for me to act on pursuing the DAT and pursuing all these extra credentials, these, the alphabet soup behind my name, that's one of those things that he planted the seeds, and it took 3 years for it to actually take root and for me to act on, what he was trying to, ingrain in us at an early time in our career.
And where is he now?
So he's actually my predecessor in my position.
Got it.
So I took over for him, which was pretty cool. It was a great opportunity that, just right place, right time, and something that we, I don't want to discredit any of my efforts, but it's one of those things that just kind of presented itself at the right place, right time. But he is now the director of medical research for the University of Washington's medical school. It's their extension campus here at U of I. And so in U of I's in the state of Idaho, that's where his ground is. They have a 5-state conglomerate med school.
Wow.
And so for Idaho, that's his position now.
Fantastic. Well, so are you physically in the same town then or nearby?
Yeah, same town.
Like you go have coffee together and talk about it. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, that's because he's my predecessor in this position. There's always things that can I ask you about this, or can we talk about? Yeah. And so I'll say, hey, I'll buy lunch if you don't mind just spilling your guts here. Like, let me into your mind.
That's amazing. I mean, to have your mentor still very much in your life is really, truly, not only in your life, but in your neighborhood, essentially. Yeah. Well, it's been amazing catching up with you. And I there's so much more to talk about, but I think the other cool thing is that I know I'm going to get to talk to Dr. Alan Nisipany as well sometime soon and kind of get his story behind not only his program, which is another organization that he actually has developed, but yours, because you guys work together. So absolutely. He's a great individual, and he's kind of spurred a lot of my own personal growth in the last 5 years. He's been at the forefront of that for me. So I get that about him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me wrap it up here with my little, I have to do this outro thing that they have me do here. It's we've been talking to Matthew Smitley, clinical assistant professor, MSAT program director of the athletic training at University of Idaho. Did I get that right?
Yep, you did. That was good.
I did. And I didn't do your alphabet soup, but I hope that's okay because I don't even know.
That's perfect.
But you have let's just say he has alphabet soup behind his name.
Yes.
And Matt, where can people learn more about you and your program?
So our program, you can find us at our website. It is atp.uidaho.edu.
atp.uidaho.edu.
Perfect. That's exactly right. And that's where you can contact us. You can reach out, ask questions about a program. You can also contact our faculty members through that. And that's the best way to learn about us, learn our philosophy, but also get in touch with us.
Awesome. All right, Matt. Well, thank you so much and have a rest of your day in bliss. I'm about to do the same. It's a lovely afternoon. So we'll talk soon. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
I mean, we do all the time. So we'll chat again soon.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Bye, buddy.
Thanks for listening to It's Not Just Business Talks with Sonja, a real-life podcast to inspire you. We'll see you again next time, and if this is your jam, click subscribe to get future episodes.